Gracie and I are at the coal mines today, and what we intend to show you is the 1846 hospital. But before we head up to that area, I just want to show you the original hospital at the coal mines. This is the main penitentiary area here, and where Gracie is patiently laying down there is the window of the hospital that was located on this end of the penitentiary wing. This was constructed around 1841. There's a map showing it in existence in 1842. This is two-storey, so down below was the commissariat store, and just above that window you may be able to see the timber where the grooves are in the rock is where the floor was for the hospital that was situated on the second story, and down that way are the wards for the prisoners. So the room itself is approximately 10 metres by 12 metres. I expect there would have been a fireplace there in that little gap. This would have sufficed for when the convict population was anywhere between, say, 20, 100, but by 1846 the population had risen to over 550, so a larger hospital area was required. So with that in mind, a report in 1846 urged the appointment of a foreman of works to come down here to oversee the construction of the hospital, as well as the separate apartments and solitary cells that were located under them. So let's grab Gracie and we're going to go over and have a look at where I believe the 1846 hospital was constructed. Now where Gracie's patiently laying down there is, I believe, the middle of the hospital. It goes right down there to where you can see the rubble, mound of rubble in the distance in front of the trees, and then it travels down this area here to the end of the rubble there on the other side of that big tree. Now the original plans of the building, which show it was 70 foot by 30 foot, with 2 verandas, 2 privies, a kitchen, surgery, lobby, wash house and 3 wards. Now this building we have here is only 3 rooms as far as I can see, but it is 23 by 8.7 metres, which is approximately 70 foot by 30 foot. So it matches the dimensions almost exactly of what the original plan has. So let's start the tour on the western ward. This is 8.7 by 6.1. I've got a slight gap in the rock here. I suggest this was probably the doorway into here, and there's lots of smaller sandstone rubble with some brick rubble laying around on the side. Down this end here we have what I believe to be is a fireplace. It's right in the middle of the wall and it seems to protrude on this side, and then with that being there, one would expect the doorway to be on the other side of where I come through. The mound on this side is raised. I can't see any remains of a doorway along here, but I'm not sure what the actual floor height was in regards to all the rubble that's here now. Now leaving that first ward, let's have a look at this larger room, and it's 10.7 by 8.7, and Gracie's still patiently sitting just about in the middle of it. The foundations go around the side, if you can call on that, lots of just small sandstone rubble. It might be a bit of an entranceway here, or I suspect it also might be the location of a fireplace. This is right in the middle of the room, and as a fireplace is located in the middle of the room, that one, I'm just guessing that a fireplace may have been proposed to be located here. Now the third room or ward matches up with the first ward, and this is 6.1 by 8.7 again. Lots of little pieces of sandstone rubble Very few big blocks down here. A large mound of rubble going across the back there. I have a bit of a gap here between the middle room or ward and this one here. It may have been a doorway. It's very hard to tell. There's another tree growing up in the middle of the foundations here. At the rear of the southern ward, there's some sandstone foundations built up. And this may be in the area where they considered of locating the privies, wash house, those things that were mentioned before, that they'd probably prefer to have outside the building. So in late 1846, a Dr. Motherwell visited the mines, and he reported a hospital in stonework was in progress of erection. So by late 1846, they'd already started work on this building. Now from that point on, things tend to go south in more than one way. Captain Hayden of the Royal Engineers reported in May of 1847 that one wing of the hospital has already been pulled down, and that portion which remains is in every respect so defective that I consider it right to desire the party at work rebuilding the south wall to discontinue until they receive further orders. He felt that it all should be pulled down if it does not fall down. Now this is the south wall. As you can see, there's hardly any foundation at all. It's just rubble. It's on a bit of a slope here where it comes down to, looks like a gully. It looks like it's been cleared by the convicts, and then the area is raised over there, what the natural area would have been. But for some reason they cleared a gully out of here. So the building is on raised ground, and there doesn't seem to be any reinforcement under those foundations that they started. So that probably explains the reason why that the building had to come down on the south end. By 1847 there's another report saying the hospital is a very small building in bad repair and not at all fitted for the purpose. A new hospital has been commenced, but the foundation was so bad that it must be pulled down. Now that small hospital they're referring to was the one we showed you at the penitentiary building at the start of the video, and this is the one that was found so bad that it must be pulled down. Now why was this building built so badly that it had to be pulled down, as opposed to some of the other structures around here that admittedly haven't quite lasted the ravages of time, but you can still see that they're a lot more advanced than what this building was. So the foreman of works, which I talked about before, he was basically an engineer who was appointed from the Royal Engineers. They had one down here originally in 1841, and then he supervised the construction of the buildings. Now the plans for the buildings, I mean, all they were was basically a rectangle drawing, and it gave you the width, the length, where the doors were, where the windows were, and that was it. That was your plan. So now by end of 1846 there was no foreman of works down here, and as I said right at the start of this, a request was put in for a foreman of works to supervise the building of the separate apartments, solitary cells and the hospital, but none was forthcoming. Unknown what the reason is for. So without a foreman of works down here, the hospital works went on without the supervision of any type of engineer. Now another reason why I believe the building was condemned was due to the materials they used. You can count the large blocks of sandstone down here on one hand. I think there's about maybe 4 pieces of dressed sandstone. All the rest is these bits of sandstone rubble you see. And there are no blocks of sandstone going around the edges to form a nice solid foundation like you see on the other buildings around the site. Even the bricks building cottages, most of them tend to have a solid rectangle piece of sandstone on the outer edge of them to give a basis for the foundation. There's none of that here. It's all just these bits and pieces of sandstone. And where I think they got this sandstone from was from one of the mine shafts. And I suspect it was the 1845 shaft, known as the main shaft. I think the sandstone from that, as they were mining up there, was brought down to here. There is no sandstone rubble up at the 1845 shaft. There is rock rubble from on the spoil, but there is no sandstone. So not only lack of supervision of a qualified engineer caused this building to crumble, but also the materials they were forced to use at the time. So how high the walls were actually constructed here, I don't think we'll ever know. I suggest that it probably didn't get more than maybe half a metre on the sides. I'm just saying that because looking around there isn't a lot more rubble than what really is on the foundation itself, the lower foundations. And those foundations are fairly well covered in soil, but still distinguishable if you're here. On the southwest corner there's another cleared area with some rubble that looks like a foundation was commenced. This may have been another area where they're going to put the toilets, kitchen, etc. That joins on to the raised bank that's at the southern end of the building. At the northern end of the building there's quite a gap between the end of the building here and this large sand embankment. So I'd say that all this area had been cleared, so maybe originally they proposed to have some more buildings here on this side of it. It also appears that it may have been the edge of a convict road that travelled down through here as well. The only artefacts I found here is some broken glass from a bottle. Whether that's got moved from other sites to here, I don't know. I don't think this building was ever lived in, worked in, whatever, so I suspect it may have got moved from other areas. Every previous survey report that I've read on the coal mine suggests that the 1846 hospital resided a lot closer to the separate apartments than I'm now standing. And I think that confusion come about because of just this foundation bit here is a U-shaped, and the previous surveys didn't take into account that there are actually two more rooms down there. And then when you put the two rooms and this one together, the dimensions marry up almost exactly as what the original 1846 hospital plan was. Gracie and I have endured quite a few days on this site here with the mosquitoes and march flies, but it's been worth it. We feel like we've won the Melbourne Cup putting all this together. So there you have it, the 1846 hospital at the coal mines. I'm on the ocean side of the main penitentiary area, and I thought I'd just show you this cottage here. One, because this is where the assistant superintendent and foreman of works used to reside. Now, this cottage was built, I'll probably say 1840. It's showing on the map of 1842 as being built by then. But if you just have a look at the building material, it's all this sandstone rubble, the same as you see up at the hospital. The only dress stone here tends to be round where the fireplaces are, but the rest of it is that same type of sandstone rubble. So the hospital, obviously, hospital work crew tried to use the same type of building technique as they did down here. Now, down here they obviously had more success, but they weren't on that large bank, that large south bank that the hospital area had to be built on. Now, located just north of the foreman of works cottage is a sign saying engineers store. It's seems to lead you to believe that this structure here is the engineer's store, but that's totally incorrect. It's an overseer's quarter. Henry Miller used to live in there sometimes. The engineer's store was located over here, approximately at this location. It was built of timber, not brick, so I don't believe there's anything left of it. But the reason why the engineer's store was here was because the foreman of works, who was an engineer, resided in that building and he could keep an eye on the tools.